celebrating the World Yoga Day on 21st of June 2021, I want to give a message that blood pressure or hypertension is a silent killer and it affects a lot of people across the world and in India.
Let's practice yoga. Let's give our mind and body at least 10 minutes of our precious time. No matter how busy we are in our labs, as scientists, as doctors, as healthcare workers, as students, only if we are healthy, we can build a healthy nation. Thank you.
योगा को अपनी लाइफ का पार्ट बनाएं और
Namaskaram. Once again, 7th International Day of Yoga, 7th anniversary of this wonderful possibility of yoga being acknowledged as a science.
और एक अच्छी बात मुझे ये लगी कि आजकल कस्टमाइजेशन का जमाना है, जिसको आज डॉक्टर सोनू और उनकी टीम ने कस्टमाइज करके इसको डिजिटलाइज करके कि जैसे ऑफिस वाले लोग हैं उनके लिए चेयर योगा.
Your tagline is something most interesting. Yoga high, BP by.
My greetings to the Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh.
Greetings and namaste to my faculty colleagues, staff, director sir and dean sir, and all those who are joining. I was told that we have about 250 people already waiting. The day started with the Honorable Prime Minister's beautiful quote and the description and definition of yoga. He started saying that we should use yoga to move from negativity to creativity, and also mentioned Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, the sutra, the Patanjali Sutra, from where the yogic tradition has been derived. And he mentioned how the nurses and the healthcare workers have been pushing patients, encouraging them at the time of this COVID crisis to practice yoga, and the patients coming forward and telling and relating the beautiful experiences of yoga. So PGI is not left behind, as you just saw the clips of 7 days of Yoga High and BP By program run by the Department of Community Medicine, along with the newly initiated CCRY and Collaborative Center for Mind Body Medicine at PGI. You might recall last year, which was the 6th day of International Day of Yoga, we had the Padam Vibhushan, Dr. David Frowley, talking about yoga psychology. And basically today, we're going to be discussing, we have a revered guest, Dr. Kamlesh Patel, who's also fondly called Daji, who's the founder of Heartfulness Foundation. And you might be wondering what yoga psychology, last time's topic, has relation to meditation. And some of you saw recently the various yoga postures or yoga asanas. These can all be encapsulated in what is called the Ashtanga yoga, that starts from the yama niyama, the social and the moral dictates, then the asana or the physical postures, the pranayama, which is the breathing techniques, and the inward looking pratyahar, in which you try to go inside and extract your senses, develop the inner being and develop yourself as a positive human being. And then followed by the samadhi part, which starts from it ends at samadhi, which is the 8th part of the 8th Ashtanga Yoga, which is going to be the topic of today's discussion also. We are joined by our director, Dr. Jagat Ram, who's also Padam Shri and a reputed ophthalmologist, corneal surgeon, and he will do the welcome address. And at the end, after the revered guest, Dr. Kamlesh Patel, gives his address to the Institute faculty and staff and students, Dr. G.D. Puri, who is an ICU specialist and is also Dean of Academics and also holds a patent for one of the equipments used in ICU, will give the concluding remarks. So that is the program lined up for today. Without much ado, I will request our revered director, Dr. Jagat Ram, to please give his welcome address.
Dr. Kamlesh Patel from Heartfulness Foundation, Professor G.D. Puri, Dean Academic PGI, Dr. Akshay Anand, Dr. Sonu Goyal, and dear friends. I am delighted to welcome Dr. Kamlesh Patel from the Heartfulness Foundation to our institute 7th International Day of Yoga celebration. Dr. Kamlesh Patel, known to many as Daji, is a modern day yogi of caliber who has brought together the best of the ancient Indian tradition of yoga and modern science to offer a set of remarkable meditative techniques known as heartfulness. On behalf of PGI, I welcome all of you. Yoga and meditation has been part of the ancient Indian philosophy and contributed significantly towards several public health programs meant for lifestyle disorder. During COVID-19 crisis, the mindfulness approach of yoga has become increasingly popular and acceptable globally. At PGI, we have signed an memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Ayush to set up collaborative center focused in this direction. Yoga, which encompasses the asanas, breathing techniques, and meditation, need more fundamental research so that it is integrated for prevention and management for various lifestyle disorders. We are planning to ramp up such research efforts in this direction. Recently, in a week-long Yoga Day celebration organized by this center in collaboration with the Community Medicine and School of Public Health, I had appealed to all my faculty members and staff to adopt yoga in their lives for healthier living. I hope today's address by Daji will further provide new perspective of health promoting efforts and its effect on meditation. I hope that the science of yoga is usefully employed for the inner enrichment, just like we use other tools for our external growth. The healing power of yoga has been demonstrated in many scientific research in preventing many of the chronic illness with benefit from medical disorder to cardiovascular diseases. The idea of International Yoga Day was first proposed by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji on September 27, 2014 during his speech at the United Nations General Assembly, where a resolution to establish June 21 as International Yoga Day was introduced by India's ambassador Shri Ashok Kumar Mukherjee. To promote International Yoga Day and to support the theme COVID-19 Prevention and IEC Committee PGIMER Global Health and Wellness Initiative of NCD Federation with the theme Khelo, Haso or Hasao, Bado or Badhao India, and Department of Community Medicine and School of Public Health PGI has collaborated to celebrate this day under the theme Yoga at Home, Yoga with the Family. The theme will motivate people to practice yoga at the comfort of their home. With these few words, I once again welcome you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your welcome address. Thank you for introducing Dr. Kamlesh Patel and the activities at PGI. As we all know, Daji is basically the scholar of Western medicine as well as yogic sciences, as M.Pharma and a PhD, bringing various spiritual paths under one roof, and is very popular, has trained about 4 million yoga trainers across the world, and his presence is felt in 160 countries. So, but without much ado, let's take the welcome address of our director, Dr. Jagatram, forward and request Daji to please give his address on meditation and its epigenetic changes. We look forward to hearing from you, sir.
Trial. Trial.
Heartfelt pranams to all of you. At the outset of the proceeding, let me convey my heartfelt thanks to respected Professor Jagatram, Director of PGI and reputed ophthalmologist Dr. J.D. Puri, who is a Dean of Academics and reputed anesthesiologist at PGI MER, Chandigarh. Dr. Gurpreet Singh is a Dean of Research and General Surgeon, PGI MER, Chandigarh. Last but not the least, Dr. Akshay Anand, Professor of Neurosciences and Professor in charge of CCRYN, Center for Mind Body Medicine. Welcome to the topic of science and spirituality, especially and specifically meditation and epigenetics. Science seeks answers and hence knowledge. Spirituality also seeks the same answers and hence the knowledge. Only difference is that of the direction of search. One is outward into things, while spirituality is all moving inwards. We at Heartfulness like to integrate both the realms and try to lead an integrated life, giving equal importance to both. One ought to remain open and sympathetic towards search that shall always remain unfinished. Today, I would like to talk about the inner environment cultivated through meditation and try to see what sort of epigenetic changes it can influence. Let us imagine for a moment if we were all genetically unchangeable. Whatsoever genetic inheritance we have will never ever get a chance to change. That means no possibility of transformation or further evolution, despite of myriads of changes happening around us, in us, and because of us. If that be the case, forget about evolution and further chance to progress as a human race. Thanks to the possibilities of epigenetic changes, that we have some degree of freedom to make a difference. That is why there are always some deletion and insertion of genetic stuff into the genes, which are constantly building and unbuilding itself in that DNA long chain. These changes can be beneficial so as to adjust with the external inputs, or become detrimental to one's own health. What we understand them as genetic diseases. DNA methylation, vigorous exercises as well as the one done as we do with yogasanas or pranayamas, or processes like meditation, as markers can indicate the effectiveness of various medications or environmental effect or electromagnetic effect, or exercises like vigorous exercises as well as the one done as we do with yogasanas or pranayamas, or processes like meditation. Regulating methylation is again a new and upcoming field in creating personalized medicine. Shorter telomeres have a negative effect on our health. Simple example, baldness. As the telomere here gets shorter and shorter, there is no further cell division. So how are you going to produce protein to biosynthesize hair? Telomere shortening is the main cause of age-related breakdown of our cells. When telomeres get too short, our cells can no longer reproduce, which causes our tissues to degenerate and eventually die. Relaxation or tightening of histones also helps genes to express themselves or not express themselves. In scientific terms, histone acetylation and deacetylation are essential aspects of gene regulation. How meditation affects methylation patterns, flexibility of histones, and telomere length remains a mystery. More detailed research would be appreciated in order to understand how exactly meditation influences these markers, influencing epigenetic changes. I'm sure you all are more familiar, more than myself, where the hormones or chemicals or some such factors contribute in genetic changes. Let me share with you a few scenarios. Breast cancer. Breast cancer has been called the nun's disease because of the high number of Christian nuns remain affected. Lifelong nuns, like all women who never have children, are at an increased risk of dying from breast, ovarian, and uterine cancers compared with mothers. Celibacy has a price to pay too. Some of you may have been familiar with Dr. Bruce Lipton, who in the late 70s studied the epigenetic changes on chromosomes, especially during the early phase of embryogenesis. Later, he did sociological studies on the mothers-to-be and the effect on fetus and the resultant impact on neurophysiology of the growing child. Basically, he divided mothers into two groups. First group of mothers represented those who were always in fight or flight mode or hide mode, like ostrich. Ostrich would hide its head into the sand. It's neither flying, not fighting, hiding, living under unpredictable environment or the residential areas with higher rate of violence. That was one group. Second group had mothers to be who were relatively leading a stress-free lifestyle, higher economy numbers, and better suburban neighborhoods. Now, you all know that flight or fight or hide mode is sympathetic response. Imagine a mother whose husband comes home with attitude, terrible attitude, and sleeps with a gun under his pillow. What happens during the fight or flight response here? In response to acute stress, the body's sympathetic nervous system is activated by the sudden release of hormones. The sympathetic nervous system then stimulates the adrenal glands, triggering the release of catecholamines. Not only catecholamines, but you will also witness increased cortisol blood levels. You see what happens now. Blood is bound to cross placenta barrier and reach the fetus. These hormones will increase blood flow in the limbic part of the brain, plus diverts the flow towards the limbs and feet. All this at a cost of compromised blood flow in the frontal cortex and the visceral organs. So, you see how HPA axis is affected so early on in child's life. The result? Underdeveloped frontal cortex, lesser cognitive functioning, and also compromised digestive system. Per contra, the mothers who were leading a relatively stress-free life, the children born had no such disadvantages I just shared with you. Such a scientific evidence helps us to understand our ancient Indian system where Bahu or a daughter-in-law is sent to her Maika or parental place once they become aware that the daughter-in-law has now conceived. So they would very respectfully and with very fine religious rituals send off this mother-to-be to her parental place, where she would bask in the familiar environment, where she would find rest and repose. She will have no burden of day-to-day work and hence can spend time in reading, contemplation, and in meditation. Meditation is a game changer. I may not be able to change the external environment, but surely by meditating I can change my inner environment. We have started measuring various genetic parameters of families where they have been meditating for almost 4 generations. I'll be happy to share the result once I have them with all of you. Especially meditation done on the heart fine-tunes the vagus nerve response and helps one to remain calm. Not only, the cognitive and intuitive abilities simply skyrocket amongst the children of parents who meditate regularly. Let me share a story from Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, Vichitravirya was the younger son of Queen Satyavati and the king Santanu. He was the grandfather to Pandavas and Kauravas. He had 2 wives, Ambika and Ambalika. Vichitravirya loved his wife very much and was adored by them. But after merely 7 years of married life, he died childless. Subsequently, upon the insistence of Mother Satyavati, Niyoga relationship was advised, and she summoned sage Vyasa to have this Niyoga relationship with these two wives, Ambika and Ambalika. I remain fascinated by observing the condition under which two queens, Ambika and Ambalika, conceived, and of course how Dasi also conceived. Sage was summoned by Satyavati. He responded without delay so as not to miss out the auspicious muhurtam for conception. He had no chance of refreshing himself. He enters Ambika's chambers. Seeing him, she feels aghast and internally questions, oh no, with this man. She closes her eyes with utter disgust and undergoes the ritual. Child that was conceived was Dhritarashtra, a blind child. Later, Sage meets with Ambalika, who too could not digest the look and personality of the sage Vyasa. She was scared and stressed. Her blood circulation stopped for a moment. Anyway, after that Niyoga ritual, the child that was conceived was Pandu, leucodermic skin. In order that the throne remains occupied, they requested Dasi, the maid, to also undergo in case previous two encounters failed. Now, look at the attitude of Dasi, or the maid. She felt honored and reverentially accepted the opportunity. The child that was born was named Vidura. He was the wisest of the lot. Not only post-conception environment or attitude of mother, but also the attitude at the moment of conception can be a game changer. Those who can mate with sattvic or very loving or holy attitude will have progeny of a similar nature. The kind of life force or the soul one attracts depends upon the vibratory levels of parents. Just as the moment of death, the soul will reach out to those dimensions matching its own vibratory level. Now ask yourself a question. At that moment of making love, who would think of the Lord? Can you fabricate it at that moment? Or, in order for your soul at that moment of death to reach the heavens, such moments are gripped with overpowering passion while making love, and at the moment of death, most encounter some level of extraordinary anxiety or fear. At such critical moments, I just cannot become meditative and remain at peace. Unless, of course, that has become my second nature as a result of dedicated daily practice of meditation. In short, meditation and other yogic practices are not for the last moment. People ask, will it help me fight COVID or cure COVID? It would be like trying to dig a well seeing the fire all around. Meditation surely can transform our consciousness for better. Transformed consciousness creates an inner environment of heightened perception. Frequent responses to increased perception means readjustment all the time. Brain has to rewire itself continuously with the incremental shift with awareness. Brain does not change the wiring pattern in steady state of inner environment. When individuals would meditate in a family, imagine the reinforcement and potentiating effect of inner as well as the external environment. So it's a great thing. Either you meditate and allow your consciousness to fly high into super consciousness or dive deeper in your subconscious. The matters are in our hands. The ancient method of meditation will go very well along with asanas and pranayamas and the full package of Ashtanga Yoga. Please don't be satisfied just doing some asanas or pranayam. Include meditation and arrive at a super state of super consciousness. The aim, the only aim of yoga.
Thank you, Daji, for an enlightening and inspiring talk and focusing on the parasympathetic response. We don't need to rewire our brain again and again and frequently respond to stimuluses. Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha is another way to put it. And thank you for also identifying the genetic targets. Talking of DNA methylation, of which many of us are already familiar how environment may influence our genes. So that's very important for people, my colleagues, students who are taking up new research projects. I'm sure our Dean Academics and our Director, Dr. Jagat Ram, have taken note of that. At the newly initiated CCR1 Center, we will try to follow these nice words, these ideas to fruition, and we'll try to execute some of the projects, maybe come up with some meditation projects, meditation protocols. And you very nicely outlined the value of heartfulness meditation. Usually we infer meditation as pertaining to the mind or the brain. So we kind of try to close our eyes and think of things and noises and try to bring it back and maybe focus on breath. But you, in heartfulness, tell us and guide us to focus on heart instead. So that's very, very important and very inspiring. Now we will move to Dr. G.D. Puri, who is the Dean of Academics in PGI. He's a reputed anesthesiologist, and as I mentioned earlier, also holds a patent for an equipment that is used in the ICU settings. I will request Dr. G.D. Puri to please give his concluding remarks. I think you need to unmute, sir.
Shri Kamlesh ji, Desai Bhai Patel ji, Professor Jagat Ram ji, Shri Dr. Akshay Anand, Dr. Sonu Goel, my faculty colleagues, other delegates who have joined this meeting from all over the country and abroad. On behalf of PGI MER, it's my proud privilege to convey sincere thanks to Daji, who is not only a yogi, a scientist, and an entrepreneur, for sparing your valuable time on this International Yoga Day. Thank you, sir, for sharing your experiences and vision of yoga on the healthy body and healthy mind, and the scientific evidence you showed. One cannot always control what goes on outside, but one can always control what goes on inside. That's what you have tried to convey through the short lecture. Yoga is the best fitness regime for our body, heart, and mind, and is the best therapy to keep our mind and body calm. Nothing else would help us calm our mind and heart as yoga does when we are suffering stress and anxiety. And in this stressful time of COVID-19, it holds more relevance for keeping our body and mind calm and healthy. On this day, we all must thank our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, for bringing International Yoga Day into existence. I also thank Professor Jagat Ram for gracing this occasion. Thank you, Dr. Akshay, and your team for organizing this event where we could get the wisdom of Daji. And I'm sure the words which you have said regarding starting up projects under the center or otherwise for collaboration between the medical science and the yoga science, this will go a long time in bringing the best out of these two fields. Thank you all, sir.
Thank you, Dr. G.D. Puri. Thank you, Dr. Jagatram, for sparing your time for this and for organizing Daji's presence. He was so busy, especially on International Day of Yoga. It's so difficult to get yoga masters of his stature. And we will take up Dr. G.D. Puri's message to take up projects that will bring yoga as generate evidence of yoga as a tool for bringing the best of all the pathies, especially the preventive healthcare. And we will keep you updated. And let us now close the program with the permission of the director and the dean, and hoping that we will get a new yoga master to speak to us, to address to us in the 8th International Day of Yoga, which is June 21st. So till then, goodbye, and we'll